Good morning, Year 4, and I hope you had a wonderful half-term break and you are back and refreshed for English. So, to start us off this morning, to turn our brains on, can you list any prepositions? Can you remember what a preposition is? Well, it tells you where something is. That's a clue. Pause the video, have a think. Okay, so here are some prepositions to jog your memory. We've got above, behind, below, beside, after, before, by, against, along, down. So you might say, I am in the pool. We will meet after the swimming lesson. Or I am getting out of the pool. So hopefully you'll be using prepositions in your writing this week. And we are starting a new project that goes with our theme of What a Wonderful World. And it's going to be to write a discussion text. And we'll come back to what that is later on in the week. But it's going to be a discussion about plastic. So we are going to look at the negative effects of plastic today. But we're also going to talk about the positive effects of plastic. The purpose of this piece of writing this week is to set out the positives and the negatives of plastic, because I want you to write a piece of work for the Visitors Centre at the Itchen Valley Country Park. Now, hopefully lots of you have been to Itchen Valley Country Park. It looks like this. It's down Albrook Lane in Eastleigh. It's the one that's got these lovely climbing frames. You've got the Visitor Centre here. You've also got the bike trails, you've got Goa Ape, you've got the meadows, and you've got the river, of course, the Itchen. So hopefully some of you have been there. So this is a real piece of writing with a real audience. Okay, so they want a piece of writing from you that goes with their campaign for the environment about the positive and negative effects of plastic. So this is what you're aiming for. This is our Waggle. And it starts off with a heading, should we reduce our plastic wastage? So it starts with a question. And you may have your thoughts about that. But the thing with a discussion text, if you've got to create a balanced argument, you have to say, this is why we should reduce our plastic. But also, this is why we shouldn't reduce our plastic. You've got to give fact, and the opinion only comes in at the end, at the conclusion. So I'm going to read this for you now. If you'd rather read it yourself, you can pause the video, ignore me and read it in your own pace. But if you want to listen to me, I'm going to do it right now. Should we reduce our plastic wastage? Plastic is a very hot topic of discussion at the moment. Politicians, environmentalists, scientists and even school children are all talking about the man-made material and how it affects our planet, Earth. In this text, I'm going to write a balanced argument about both the merits and downsides of the use of plastic in our world. The first fully synthetic, completely man-made plastic was made in 1907 by a Belgian-born scientist called Leo Hendrik Beekland in America. Plastic consists of organic polymers of high molecular mass and can contain other substances. They are easy to manufacture and have a low financial cost to make. They are extremely versatile and because of this are used in a large number of items, varying in size, that we use every day, without a thought. The best extreme examples of this are a paperclip and a space rocket. Plastic is used around our homes a lot more than we might be able to imagine. The obvious uses of plastics are in things like children's toys, furniture, food packaging and storage boxes. But we also need plastic in our windows, pipework and electrics. Plastics have many uses in the medical field as well. Injections, transportation of blood products, machines and bedding, just to name a few. The success and dominance of plastic has led to environmental concerns regarding its slow decomposition once it has been discarded, no longer needed. Also, plastic is highly durable and the chemical structure makes it resistant to many natural processes of degradation. There are many estimates of how much plastic waste has been produced over the last century. One estimate suggests that in 1950 there has been 1 billion tonnes of plastic waste. Scientists suggest that this waste will take centuries for it to completely degrade. Our oceans are the biggest hit by this defiant man-made material, with China, Indonesia, Thailand and Vietnam dumping more plastic into our oceans than all the other countries combined. Plastic is also having an immense impact on global warming. The production of plastic requires an alarmingly high amount of oil and energy, more than any other man-made material. The incineration of plastic is another way that we get rid of unwanted plastic, but this creates toxic gases and needs to be kept at a temperature above 850 degrees Celsius. In conclusion, the invention of plastic was a very revolutionary and life-changing discovery. I believe that we need some plastics to continue to develop and succeed as human beings. However, there are many areas that we can cut back on our plastic use and be smarter with recycling to help save our planet from becoming our dumping ground. So whatever you think about plastic, that discussion text sets out the positive effects of plastic and the negative effects. It has a balanced argument, a paragraph for each. So with that in mind, we now need to do some research. So today we're going to research the negative effects of plastic. Tomorrow you're going to research the positive effects of plastic. And we're starting with negative because actually I find that a bit easier because that's in the news an awful lot. I'm going to play you a video now, and while you're watching the video, I want you to make notes on when plastic is used and how it's used around the world. So not necessarily just negative now, but when do you use plastic and how is it used around the world?
Everybody uses things made of plastic, as well as things that come to us in plastic. There are many types of plastic, and they are all light in weight, low in cost, and can be used in all weathers. And they last long, really long. The funny thing is, we don't usually end up using plastic for very long ourselves. We throw away plastic bags, plastic cups and bottles, chips and chocolate wrappers, plastic straws, spoons, plates, and we throw them almost immediately after using them. Plastic is made of certain chemicals that do not decompose easily. Anything plastic takes a really long time to go away, and in that time, it does a lot of damage. The trash we throw away, if done properly, is collected from various places and is sent to a dump yard. At the dump yard, it is disposed of as best as possible. The plastic things are collected and then cut into tiny pieces, which are then melted and made into new shapes. In certain countries, plastic is reused to make furniture, clothes, and other useful things. But a lot of trash falls out of the garbage bins, or is thrown away casually, carelessly, anywhere. What happens to that plastic? Well, it goes into our drains, our ponds, our lakes and rivers, and one way or the other ends up in our oceans. In all the oceans, everywhere in the world, there is a lot of plastic, floating on the surface and sunken like treasures in the deepest parts. Because of the waves and the sun, plastic things in the ocean break down into smaller pieces of plastic. The oceans are the home of many types of fish, animals, and even birds. They are not used to seeing brightly colored and slow moving things in the ocean. They think it's food, and so they swallow these small pieces of plastic. Many mama and papa birds roam around for food. They return with plastic and feed them to their little babies. Their stomachs get filled. They think they are full and don't eat the food that they actually need. And because they haven't got the nutrition they need, they die. And when their stomachs are opened, it isn't a pretty sight. There are many, many, many ocean creatures that have died because of eating plastic. If you go to the beach, you will get some idea of the plastic that is out there in the oceans. Some of what is in the ocean comes back to the beach when the tide is low. And if we don't pick it up and properly get rid of it, it goes back into the water and causes more harm to the poor little birds, the fish, and the turtles. The oceans and the seas are home to some of nature's most special creatures. There are already more pieces of plastic in the oceans than there are fish. Each one of us must do something about the plastic that is out there. We must promise to use less plastic and throw away even lesser. Let's do something nice for the animals in the ocean, for nature, and for our mother, planet Earth.
Now, I think that was quite a shocking video. It had some really strong imagery in there, so I hope you took a lot from it. So when do we actually use plastic, first of all? And that was kind of addressed in the initial part of the video. Some ideas that I came up with, which I'm sure you did too: bottles, bags, toys, wrappers, there was chairs. There are so many things that we use plastic for. And how is plastic used around the world? What I thought was interesting is when it started talking about some of it being recycled and made into new furniture or clothes. Okay, but there was a lot in that video that you could take, an awful lot about the negatives of plastic. So I just want you to think now, pause the video and jot down what negatives you saw in that video, and then I'll go through some of the things that I picked up on. Okay, so some of the things that I've picked up on, mainly from that video, was hurting, killing ocean creatures, polluting other oceans, littering the land. You saw that litter, all that plastic on the sand on the beaches. Overfilling the tips and the rubbish sites. So that's for all the stuff that's not being recycled and reused. Eating the fish that has plastic in their stomachs. Throwing away carelessly. So all those bottles that are used once and then thrown away. That was at the beginning of the video. And the bad chemicals. So some plastic never degrades. So when they're talking about it not decomposing or it not degrading, it means it's not breaking down at all. So it's there forever. So your task today is to research the negative effects of plastic. Okay, so you have a few things attached for your lesson today. You have this sheet, okay, you have bronze, silver and gold. I'm going to look today now at silver because that's the one I imagine most of you will be doing. However, they are very, very similar, just slightly different questions. So what are the negative effects of using plastic? Well, firstly, you could rewatch that video. There were lots in there. The big one being the harm to wildlife. So we had marine life eating plastic. We had birds feeding their young plastic. Okay, they're just two. Right, in fact, I might organise this like that. Okay, now there are lots of other negative effects. So we had plastic not degrading and sitting in landfills. Okay, to help you today, you have got a sheet here full of QR codes and full of websites. So you've got the one we just watched, which you can rewatch, and you've got all of these here. Now you can either click on the website, or if you've got a phone or an iPad, you could scan the QR code and that will take you to the website. Some of them have videos on them. Some of them are pages you have to read. So you don't have to look at every website. Have a look at all of them, see which one suits you. If you just want to use the video we just watched, replay that, because that has everything that you need in it. The other question you might have to answer, oh sorry, my laptop's going a bit mad, is who does this actually affect? Well, we know that it's going to affect wildlife, the ocean habitat, because all of that plastic is sitting in the ocean. It's going to affect the birds, it's going to affect the turtles, the fish, the whales, the seals. Who else is it going to affect? If we're sitting in landfills and we're getting those chemicals, it's going to affect the people who live near landfills. Okay. So have a think about that. So look at the points from your first question and then answer who does it affect in the second question. And then the final question you've got on the silver challenge is what can be done to help improve these negative effects? Well, we had something about less one-use plastics. Okay, so less throwaway plastics, more recycling. So using plastic to create furniture and clothes. Maybe in your research you might find out the countries who are already doing this. So what you want to do is you want to fill this sheet with research so that when you come to write your paragraph in your discussion text, which then you will be able to have all the information you need to create a paragraph, which is this one here, the negatives of plastic. Okay, so I hope that explains it all for you. As I say, I think this is the easiest one because the negative effects are more shocking than the positive effects. So have a good go at that, and we look forward to seeing your work later. Goodbye, Year 4.